Hi and welcome to a cEDH deck tech video for Kotis the Fangkeeper, a sultai Voltron commander. Whenever Kotis deals combat damage to a player, exile top X cards of their library where X is the amount of damage dealt. You may cast any number of spells with mana value X or less from among them without paying their mana cost. So he's like a bigger version of Ragavan. Except you don't generate treasures, but you don't need to because he's casting the spells for free. Together with free color identities of sultai, this just opens up a lot of different possibilities. Ultimately making him into a value engine thief commander that gets stronger and better the more Voltron you make him. Which is kinda interesting because Voltron concept isn't something you really do inside the cEDH format. There are some commanders that naturally become a Voltron cEDH commander, but that is never really the main thing. This commander is going to be Voltron as its main concept. Because the more power he has, the more things you're going to exile when you connect with him. And by the way, double strike is gonna be great with this commander. So we are auto-including Conqueror's Flail. This Grand Abolisher equipment is already being played just because of that Grand Abolisher effect. If you have a combo, this equipment will make sure you get to combo off with it without your opponents being able to interact with you. When you equip this to your commander, he's gonna get +3/+3, which means that if he connects, you're exiling the top 5 cards from your opponent's library. So it's already individually great on its own, but it's also synergizing with the commander, and those are the cards we wanna hit. Problem is, it doesn't really get that much better than that. There is a lot of cards we could include that is more towards the casual concept. For example, Sword of Fire and Ice, Sword of Feast and Famine. And sure, these cards are strong, but they are quite expensive and they are only good when you want a Voltron. On the other hand, Sword of Feast and Famine untaps all your land, so there's some value in that. And Sword of Fire and Ice draws cards and kills creatures. So the casual swords aren't dead cards. But I have refrained from overpopulating my deck with them. And I recommend that you do too. You should definitely play some cards like Conqueror's Flail that will boost this commander's power but do something good outside it as well, preferably. Because if you go too much hardcore into Voltron, you might just enter into a trap. And you might end up, or you probably will end up, with a very commander-centric deck that will only be good when the commander is in play and it's doing its Voltron thing, that one only thing. And because of that, you're missing out on so much potential. I would love to mention Praetor's Grasp. Now you can't play Underworld Breach because you don't have the color identity of red, but your commander could accidentally steal one. Or you could use Praetor's Grasp to steal an Underworld Breach. Therefore I have built it including Lion's Eye Diamond and Brain Freeze, just like if I had an Underworld Breach in the deck as well. Similar, we're also including the entire Demir Thassa's Consult package, because you just could accidentally steal a Thassa's Oracle, or a Consult. So if you have a Thassa's in hand and you steal a Consult, then yeah, there you go. So what I'm trying to say is, try to be open and try to be ready to utilize and synergize with the opponent's cards you're going to eventually steal. Because the ultimate truth is that we are mostly playing the same cards, all of us. Like when you're sitting down at a table, the likelihood of one of your opponents having an Underworld Breach in their deck list is pretty secure and safe to say. Because of this, I'm also including the entire Necropotence package. Except for Final Fortune, obviously, as it's a color identity red. But we are running Necropotence, Valley Flood Color and Born Upon the Wind. And I'm also going to include Crop Rotation and Emergency Zone for a more secured and guaranteed Necropotence synergy. And we are already going to be playing Gaia's Cradle, so Crop Rotation will be individually great on its own as well, outside the Necropotence. That begs the question, should we build around ad nauseum? The likelihood of hitting and stealing, but I should actually say being able to cast ad nauseum, isn't that good. He needs to have a power of 5 or greater if you wanna be able to cast ad nauseum. Like, you can hit it, but you might not be able to actually cast it. We could, however, have the ad nauseum inside the build, trying to stay low on that CMC curve in general. But I'm not personally going to. You could, and maybe you should, but I'm not, because I kinda wanna experiment a little bit on just how good the Voltron concept here potentially could be. You see, Necropotence doesn't really care about the CMC stuff, so if you're including a lot of really expensive cards that's gonna work with your strange mid-range game plan, it's not gonna hurt the potential performance of the Necropotence package. In the future, there's a big chance that I will add ad nauseum into the build and maybe decrease the overall CMC inside this build. But for now, I wanna steal stuff with this. It looks really fun. Because a big reason to play this, or a big appeal I should say, is that all your games truly will be unique. Even though you're mostly going to steal cards everyone else is playing, cards you're playing yourself, you're gonna run into opponents that are playing weird stuff. There are some fringe cEDH decks out there that is doing a little bit of the more orthodox, strange things, and eventually you're like, that's an enjoyment. Like, you don't know what you're gonna get. So what we basically have here is a very sultai, fastest console, necropotence concept, fast, trying to be efficient turbo combo and all that stuff, while having a huge card draw potential in the command zone that will get better the more Voltron you make it. Ultimately, link in the description below of this video if you wanna take a look at exactly how I've put it together. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any feedback, please leave those in the comments below and I will try and do my very best to answer them. Take care guys, and I'll see you in the next one.